Guys, what's going on? How you doing, guys? This is our old YouTube channel. What's going on? Rover Sports here, and what a day in the NFL. It's pretty much the last of the coaching shoes to fall from the off season. I think that all the hires have been pretty successful, even the Pat Shurmur hire. You know, I look now at the NFL, and of course there's some risky hires out there like Mike Vrabel, like Steve Wilks, but the Colts, I think, got a really good hire, and they end up getting a guy that I think is actually better than Josh McDaniels in Frank Reich. And Bruce, you know, you've seen Frank Reich's work, you know, in Philadelphia. So what do you think about Frank Reich being the new Colts head coach?
I think it's a great hire for the Colts. I think it's bordering on devastating for the Eagles. Just the sequence of events. John DeFilippo, a.k.a. Flip, was hired as an OC for the Minnesota Vikings. And that would have been enough, certainly, for Peterson and Reich to remain together in that quarterback room. We know that how important the chemistry is. But what happened was Josh McDaniels pulled the old FU, pulled the banana out of his pants. It actually mooned the Colts, and it was a huge shock. In fact, his agent actually fired him. That doesn't happen every day. And what happened, they went out and they found Frank Reich. Frank Reich, the man who brought the Buffalo Bills back from a 32-point deficit to beat the Houston Oilers so many years ago, who is a solid, stabilizing force. We don't want to throw the word genius around, but certainly a brilliant guy, worked with Carson Wentz, worked with Foles. It was a big cog in the wheel of the Eagles' Super Bowl victory, and now he's wrestled away, and boom, he's gone. He's in Indianapolis. And now Dougie P is without his two consigliaries. That is, Flip and Reich are now gone, and that certainly brings us up to the second point. Who will be the new OC in Philadelphia?
Right, and if Frank Reich was hired earlier, DeFilippo might have not gone to Minnesota. He might have taken the same position at the Eagles, being the offensive coordinator there.
He would have been elevated to being a Super Bowl team OC, but nobody knew that.
And I'm sure that he would like that. The one good news for the Eagles is that they're very marketable. They're coming off of the Super Bowl. Everybody wants to be around the formula that is a Super Bowl team. Jim Schwartz is a good defensive coordinator, I think. So I think that really, you look at the hire for the Colts, I think it's very good. And Jabari, how are you? What's going on, man? I appreciate you hopping in here. And, you know, I look at the Eagles now, and I think it's a very marketable position, and I think that they should go young because DeFilippo is young. Frank Reich is not that old, and you got to get a guy that can relate to the quarterbacks. And I think that there's a couple of good names out there. The Titans quarterback coach is very good. Brian Callahan from the Raiders is very good, who's a quarterbacks coach there now under John Gruden. And you look at also Kevin O'Connell from the Redskins that you could try to hire in the division. So there's a lot of young names that you could go out and try to elevate. And I know Doug Peterson is going to continue to call the plays, but just looking at it, I think it's a very big loss for the Eagles. And they really, I would have tried to circumnavigate it by telling DeFilippo that Frank Reich could have in fact taken the Indy job. Even at the time, it was a tough situation with the ripple effect, like you mentioned, of McDaniels, and that ended up really screwing the Eagles probably.
Well, here's the problem. If the Colts would have opted against Frank Reich, and they did interview other coaching candidates, you couldn't have Flip leapfrog into the OC position when Frank Reich is sitting in that chair.
Right.
So it was very awkward. It was a perfect storm of negativity for the Philadelphia Eagles, and now they just lost 2 out of their 3 brain trusts on the offensive side of the ball. And obviously, this happens all the time. It happens to Alabama, it happens to Saban, it happens to Belichick all the time. And certainly it doesn't happen to the Eagles very much because it's been 57 years since they've won a world title, but now they're experiencing it. Now the question will be, will there be an egress of free agents from the Eagles? Will somebody offer Nigel Bradham a really good free agent offer that the Eagles can't match?
I think so. What do you think? $9 million? I think he's worth $9 million, and that's as high as he's going to get. He's either going to get 8 or 9.
I'm close to where you are. I think he's going to get $7 million for 3 years, $21
I
million.
think the Eagles can afford
Eagles
that.
don't have that cap space. They really
don't have $7 million.
Don't have it. They don't have the cap space.
I think if I were a team, I'd pay $9 million. Charles Clay, who's a tight end for the Bills, is making $14 million. There's some defensive linemen, defensive tackles that stop the run. Like I'm sure Snacks Harrison is making $13 million. Nigel Bradham is one of the best tacklers in the league. He's a very good linebacker. I would certainly pay $8 or $9 million for Nigel Bradham's services. I really would. I think that he's aggressive. He's won a championship. So I think that we'll see. I think it's 8. It could be 7. I think that they can get more. So we'll see. That's really the only free agent, though, that I think is really any good from the Eagles. Trey Burton is very replaceable. You look at,
but I think
there's
a
couple of there's backup linebackers.
But I think Burton will be signed as a free agent. And again, where he could be slotted at maybe $4 million.
But isn't he a third string tight end?
Not really.
Behind Selleck and Zach.
Selleck is really a blocking tight end, but Burton is, I think, can be a front line. He's a great blocker. He's, as you noted, of course, he can catch the football. And as we saw the Super Bowl, he could even throw the football. He's a class guy. He's a good locker room guy. There are not that many great tight ends in the league, and he's a good one. So I think he will leave other people to leave.
I disagree.
Bo Allen. I
disagree. I don't think Burton is a 3-down tight end in the NFL. I don't think he can block. He's very undersized.
We'll see. I frankly, I hope the Eagles can keep him.
Right.
Bo Allen, I think, is a decent rotational defensive tackle from Wisconsin.
$2 to $3 million a year.
I see he's going. Somebody will have to pick him up.
For how much? 2 to 3?
3. I think $3 million. For maybe a 3 or 4 year deal. He's a very young guy. He's only like 22.
Right.
We've actually interviewed him, as you know, right around here.
Yeah, he's
Zach
a
great guy, no ego at all, Wisconsin Badger, originally from Minnetonka, Minnesota, and that is, of course, Bo Allen.
The home of, I think he's actually Eden Prairie, the home of Ethan Ragbomb Raggy.
Ethan Ragbomb Raggy, rated 3s.
Raggy bomb.
See him rated 3s on those
Go to Omaha and order a Raggy bomb from
or a Raggy burger.
But you look at the hire. Somebody asked, what do you think about the hire? My good friend Sean's Beard asked, what do you think? I think it's actually the best hire out there. I really like the hire. When you listen to Frank Reich talk, he's a very cool guy. I think he's a trend. He's not one of those old, boring guys. By far the best hire that they could have made. They were even looking at the Dolphins line coach. Dan Campbell used to be a head coach. Or it might be Dan Campbell, I think. So I really think that this was the best hire that they could have possibly made. I do enjoy the hire. I really like their general manager there. I like Jim Irsay, and I think that the Colts, I really think the AFC South is great. I think that you look at the Texans, with how successful Deshaun was last year. You get him back healthy. I think the Texans are okay. I think that the Texans are actually getting older on defense. You look at
J.J. Watt's getting older.
Right.
Obviously, Clowney is not old.
Clowney's very good, but
they
lost A.J. Boye. Their secondary is not very good at all. I mean, they have very good linebackers like Cushing and Cunningham are good, but you look at the Jaguars. I love their direction. Tennessee Titans, absolutely love the Titans in their direction. I really like Matt LaFleur. I think Vrabel is pretty solid. Marcus Mariota is a star in the making. I think the Titans can win that division.
Corey Davis will be
Corey
healthy.
Davis is going to be amazing next year.
He was injured most of the year with the hamstring. He'll be back.
And he was playing in a 1960s offense, So I think the Titans are going to be terrific. You look at the South, look at the NFC South, Bruce. Tampa Bay, Carolina, New Orleans, and the Falcons. And then you look at the Texans, the Jags, and the Titans. This is really, the South in the NFL is getting so strong.
That's true. And again, one big, obviously we talked about the Colts, Frank Reich hiring today. The big variable is Andrew Luck. The question is he going to be healthy? Is he going to need another shoulder surgery? As Luck goes, so do the Colts,
right?
And that's a big if right now. So I think Frank Reich, this is his first chance to be a head coach. When you have a chance to be the head coach of the NFL, it's not an opportunity that happens every day. And once you get in that pool, you can get recycled. You become a head coach. But
Right.
so it's really hard to get that first head coaching job. Colts is not a very desirable, albeit Irsay is there, and it's a nice town. It's a good stadium, Lucas Oil.
Right.
They have the combine there. People are nice, loyal fans, but the variable of Andrew Luck certainly makes it a very uncertain future for Frank Reich.
I think that it's still, when you get a chance, you have to do it. You know, we talk about the general manager and how special Chris Ballard is. I really think that the Colts is actually a pretty great job. I really like it there. I think it actually might even be easier than the Cardinals job, because the Cardinals is out there in the desert. I mean, even though the Cardinals have very good ownership, that's kind of a franchise that's completely bare. And when you have a general manager that knows what he's doing, it just makes the job just a ton easier. And really, you have a really good cycle of new coaches. Matt Nagy for the Bears is a new coach. DeFilippo is going to be a new coach probably next year. And so we definitely shall see. You know, I think that the NFL is getting really strong. It just makes the Bengals move even more perplexing that they would keep Marvin Lewis. It makes guys like Mike Tomlin and Mike McCarthy have to step up their games. You know, there's a lot of coaches out there that have to step up. To Pete Carroll, you know, we'll have to see if Pete Carroll can get the thing rolling again. So there's a lot of pressure for the old coaches.
Yeah, these are guys
there's a whole new. Go ahead.
You mentioned two sacred cows. Mike Tomlin, I would say call the sacred cow. That is, he's certainly a Super Bowl winning coach. He's been there a long time for the Steelers, very well liked. But this year, a lot of perplexing coaching decisions. Team a little bit in turmoil. Defense imploded. When you can't win a game against the Jags, and Big Ben is 5 touchdowns, certainly the coach gets put under the hot light. Also, the Seahawks, Legion of Boom, that team's gotten old. Pete Carroll was a sacred cow, but all of a sudden, look at him now. And Marvin Lewis, God knows, I think he has pictures of Paul Brown, may he rest in peace, doing things with small farm animals.
Absolutely. So I hope you guys go back and enjoy our little live stream today. Thank you guys for digesting the content. We always love speaking with you, and we always love communicating with the people here that view the vids. Appreciate y'all. Have a great, great Sunday. We'll see you.